Well, the current crisis has highlighted the critical need for rapid development tests, as we've just been talking about, and vaccines to reduce the impact of diseases. But a larger threat is stalking this pandemic, and it's antibiotic resistance. Of course, it brings in other healthcare issues.
Yep.
Recce Pharmaceuticals has been working since 2016 on antibiotics whose potency does not diminish with use, unlike other drugs, and their CEO, James Graham, joins us now. James, pleasure to have you on the program. Just talk us through what you do there at Recce Pharmaceuticals in terms of this these antibiotic resistance drugs and what they mean in a time of health crisis with COVID-19.
Oh, look, certainly it's a unprecedented time we find ourselves in at the moment. I mean, the days are gone where you use one antibiotic for one type of bacteria and take it with repeated use and expect to overcome that infection. Now you have to take that same antibiotic many, many times just to overcome that existing infection, which is a sign in even my recent lifetime of antibiotics not working, bacteria mutating, and the threat of antibiotic resistance growing steadily around us.
Your new class of synthetic antibiotics, how does that work in that environment? Because it can cover a broad spectrum of activity, can't it?
It can, and I hate to be upbeat in such a time of great crisis amongst many industries, but being in an infectious disease company, in an infectious disease crisis with the first new class of antibiotics in over 30 years, it's quite an exciting time to be at this stage. And, you know, the prevalence of infections, whether they be bacterial or viral, is spreading. But to your point, we really take advantage of our unique mechanism of action. All existing antibiotics to date are naturally derived. They're bacteria or fungi, and they put the two against. We don't rely on that specific lock and key fit. We have a universal mechanism of action, and that allows us to keep on working with repeated use regardless of how the bacteria mutate. And that's something that antibiotics and infectious diseases really need as a whole, because it's no good working today and not tomorrow. You want to re-empower those clinicians and patients alike for the time ahead.
Your share price took a bit of a bounce recently. You're on track to begin the first human trials of one of your lead antibiotic compounds this quarter. Is that still on track given what's going on?
Oh, absolutely. So we anticipate, as we've noted to the market, announcing a phase 1 clinical trial. We've been working particularly seriously to avoid the hospital system, avoid being caught up in the COVID crisis, and to stick particularly to clinical trial facilities, which are specifically for clinical trial patients. So it doesn't see any interaction with existing hospital beds and the hospital system as a whole. But we are the only qualified infectious disease designated antibiotic company for sepsis, septicemia or blood poisoning, which to my knowledge is the primary result of death as a result of patients who get coronavirus. Their immune system drops, bacteria spreads quickly and becomes septic. So there's never been a more urgent time and a good time to be in business.
Yeah, and also urinary tract infections as well. You've targeted that, if you like, as a focus.
Well, we have the beauty about our antibiotic is it's a technology. It's not siloed to just a one-hit wonder being, say, sepsis or just particular to UTIs. We've had excellent indications against a broad spectrum of bacteria, including their superbug forms. Any bacteria in the blood is bad bacteria. We get into the blood through intravenous infusion in this instance, get on top of the bacteria by being drawn specific to the proteinaceous layer and eliminate that bacterial problem. No bacteria, no more infectious problem. And that works the same for superbugs. It works for topical skin lotions with burns or skin infections. It works across the full range of different bacterial types. So that diagnostic guesswork that the industry is so focused on is great, but that typically takes 24, 48 hours. You then take this type of antibiotic, put it against the type of bacteria. This seeks to kill all and keep on killing with repeated use. And like I mentioned, the FDA has awarded this qualified infectious disease designation particular to this company. So it's very encouraging for the time ahead.
So with the crisis at the moment, has your strategy at all for your business, so looking at your business for the next 12 months, changed at all? I mean, obviously, yes, the timing is right for your business and some of your products, particularly this one. But has anything else changed in terms of strategy over the next 6 to 12 months?
I see our strategy remains the same. I mean, the pipeline's never been drier, the need has never been greater. What I think our strategy has been complemented by is warm tailwinds in the area, a broader community recognition of the importance of new medicine and the danger of infectious diseases as a whole. So we've actually, besides our sepsis program, announced we anticipate launching a collapsed phase 1, phase 2 for topical skin infection studies or burns or wounds, assisting in wound closure. So what that means is working in parallel, complementary to our existing cash position, which is well funded through, we believe, the majority of this calendar year. We will have 2 programs working side by side. Intravascular, which is one huge market opportunity, the most expensive when it comes to hospital treatments, double the second most. And working in unison, in parallel, is the topical application. So you've got safety, you've got efficacy, you've got a global infectious disease crisis. It's a really important time to get new medicine to patients as quickly as possible.
Just quickly, give us a snapshot of the business. Size of the research team that you've got working there, a bit of a snapshot of the share register. Are you starting to attract institutional support at all?
Absolutely. We have a number of institutions amongst our share registry. We have around 2,000 shareholders. We're listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. But the business is only as good as the technology. And the technology is invented by our former head of research of Johnson & Johnson Australasia of a decade, executive director of the board of the Johnson & Johnson board. And it really works to take that pharmaceutical background with his chemistry skill set and the clinical problem as a whole, and bringing the two together to invent what is a synthetic antibiotic with what we want in as by way of properties, not by what's given to us in nature. And the business is really preempted based on the technology and the unique mechanism of action. We did the point earlier about the share price naturally having a little pullback. We did a placement at 26 cents per share. It ripped up over January, February to 59.5 cents per share. And then naturally the world appropriately got a bit of a shock, and it came back to break even of around 26 cents. And I think we're trading today around 35 cents. So good cash, good growth. I mean, I personally put $150,000 of my own money in the last placement, so I'm there aligned with the shareholders, and so looking forward to
at 15 cents. So you're looking pretty good at the moment. James, we love stories like yours with Recce Pharmaceuticals. That's what Ausbiz is all about, not just following the top 200 companies, but great stories in that small to mid-cap space. We appreciate you explaining it to us today.
Anytime. Thank you. It's a great Australian story. We look forward to the time ahead.